Hi, Fiona.
Hi, Christina. Okay, so I grew up on the south coast of New South Wales, so maybe like 3 hours south of Sydney in Australia. Um, I grew up in a very small town right on the ocean, and I was always surrounded by nature. And naturally, I started to surf when I was 13. So I'm a surfer, and the ocean is a huge influence on my life. So, yeah.
Well,
Hey,
it feels like you have a dream kind of life. So many people wish they could, be a content creator that lived in Australia and like kind of ran their own life and their own business. And so I'd love to learn more about that. And
Mhm.
so many people would want to do that, but then it's so like in outer space for them to think about that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it probably started, it was about mid 2015. I took a huge risk and I had no life savings. I packed a couple surfboards, all my photography gear, and I moved to Bali in Indonesia. So I didn't have any clients and I just built my business there. So I was based in Bali for about 4 years, on and off 4 years. And Australia is very lucky that we're so close to Bali that I can go like back and forth. So I'd come back to Australia, different cities of Australia, because Australia is quite large. So I would have clients throughout different states of Australia and then go back to
What were
Bali.
you doing when you like quit and you decided, okay, I'm gonna go do my own thing?
Yeah.
What were you
What
doing
was
at
I
the time?
doing?
Yeah.
I was actually working full time for Quicksilver. It's a big surf brand. I was working in head office down in Torquay in Victoria. Um, so I was in like an admin role in the head office. So I loved it there. Like I really loved the lifestyle and the team, and obviously it was to do with surfing and outdoor sports. But I just felt like that, like life wasn't everything that I wanted. Like it just was it was okay, but I wanted it to be more like zest, more like my passion and something that I love to do. So I was moving to Sydney and I was going to work with a renowned wedding photographer and then, start my business there and get clients. However, I went to Bali to photograph a health retreat.
Were you a
And then,
photographer at Quicksilver?
no, I wasn't. I was in like a sales admin role. But
Okay.
so what happened at the time? So that was like 2015. The Australasian Quicksilver, they actually got made redundant, all the creative teams, and it went offshore. I think it went to America or Europe. So there was photographer positions there. However, they were made redundant. So although it's all back now, so it's interesting. Um, However, yeah,
Oh,
so I was led astray to Bali for this working in a health retreat, and I absolutely loved it because I love just meeting new people, connecting, and I'm quite a health conscious person also. And I was like, oh, I could really make a life over here because I met some other people who were Australians and live in there also. And yeah, so I just took the risk and moved over. I was like, well, the worst would happen is I just have to come back home and maybe go live with my parents for a while to save money. So
did
yeah,
you
I
get
just
the job before you went there?
no, there was no job. I was just freelancing. So I had like there was nothing like lined up at all. I just knew that I would pick up freelance clients. That's all. It's so
And
much
so, because
it's
you did you know someone, or you just like walk me through like how you do that? Like, what is your first month like for somebody that tomorrow does that?
well, the thing is, living in Bali, it's very cheap, and particularly for you guys being American, your dollar goes a long way. So, yeah, it's super affordable. Like, it doesn't cost you much to live there, and well, it's actually more now. But back then, yeah, like what was that? 6 years ago now, almost. I don't know. You didn't really need to be earning a lot of money, and I was actually doing some network marketing with some health products, so that was earning me a little bit of money. So,
What's
yeah.
network marketing for the people that don't know?
Oh, sorry. I think you guys call it MLM. Multi-level marketing. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you guys call it MLM. There's a lot of companies like Arborn, Isogenics was the one I was doing work with. There's so many companies that'll do that. Yeah. But no, I just like took the risk and I just had faith it would work out. I mean, there were times where I wasn't earning much income, but I just wouldn't control my spending, so it was fine. Yeah. Yeah.
And then how did you start to like get business and then like walk me through when you're like, okay, it's, you know, you start to like work on content and then what happens?
So I worked with a couple of retreats because retreats are really big in Bali and Southeast Asia, and people started recognizing my work. And then I was also working with a lot of like lifestyle stuff. So it was a big, Bali's very well known for like wellness and fitness, yoga, Pilates, all that. So I was doing a lot of work with those sort of like that genre, and it just started getting around. Obviously my rates were very affordable, like quite cheap back then, really cheap. And, you know, I'd work with some types of influencers. I didn't do many that like exchange free, like, because I had like one experience that wasn't the best and I just felt like you don't really get much from it. So people who are starting out, you know, you can always offer that exchange or collaboration. However, just be careful what you're getting back and that you're not doing too much work for. Like, is it really worth your time and energy? And yeah, you just gotta be careful. I mean, if it's friends that you know, then great. That's fantastic. I love to help out friends. But yeah.
And how do you make those connections? These are just people you're meeting, or are you like going on Instagram and messaging people?
No, it was usually people would reach out to me. Like Bali's such a transient place. There's so many travelers from all across the world coming there to holiday. Not now, obviously, because of COVID. But beforehand, it's a real like hub of like online people, like wellness, people just trying to have this freedom lifestyle that, yeah, there's a lot of that live over there. So it's very much like if after like I did a couple like big successful shoots, then other people would message me and it just started kind of going on from that, word of mouth. Or they'll see my work on like Instagram and they'd reach out. I didn't reach out to anyone. People would come to me. Yeah.
Wow. Why do you think that is? Because in Bali, that's like, it's known for that, or?
Yes, people are very like upfront and friendly and approachable in Bali. Like even if you're just sitting in a cafe and if you're seeing the same face a few times around in the same places, you pretty much be like, hey, how are you? I've been seeing you around now like a few times. What brings you here? Or yeah, you just get into conversation. Or you just meet like friends of friends or something. Or like, I don't know, they just know of your work and they find out who you are. So yeah.
That's great. What is like one thing that you've worked on that you like love the most, or it was like really fun for you?
I don't know. That's a hard question. I do so many genres now, so it's so interesting. Like professionally, I actually started off in architectural photography. A lot of people were like, "Whoa, really?" Like I don't have any of that on my gallery now or on my website. So I love shooting in the water, like just the surfer girl lifestyle stuff. Not so much the surfing because I'm a surfer, so I prefer to be out there surfing. But the real like surfer girl lifestyle, I love that stuff. But it's very temperamental shooting in the water with the water housing because there's so much other elements. Like people don't realize that there's water constantly moving. You get the splashes on the port, so you have to constantly be wiping it, and like, you know, you have to take a million photos to get the best one. You got to go through and delete because there's water blur on it, or somehow it's not sharp. Yeah, it's very challenging. So it's good for my patience, and I don't know, I guess it's really worthwhile when you come across that you get all these incredible images and you're like, yay, that was worth it.
Totally. I mean, the underwater stuff is like so amazing, especially if you can do like a whole concept around it. What camera do you use when you go
Okay,
underwater?
so I have a Canon 5D Mark IV. And then just recently I was doing like a partnership with Panasonic Australia. So I was given the new Lumix S5. It's a mirrorless full frame. I've been using that to shoot video because I've just started into video, and the that camera is incredible. I just traveled to Norfolk Island, which is an island off Australia. It's a 2-hour, 20-minute airplane ride. And I basically use that camera for most of the footage that I capture there because it weighs 1 kilo. Like, obviously, I love my Canon because I've been using Canon for like 14 years, so I'll never steer away from that. I just am all my like high quality lenses are Canon, so yeah.
What about underwater? How do you do
Oh,
that?
it's the same. Yeah, so I just use my Canon 5D Mark IV, and I've got like an Aquatech water housing, so it goes over. They're very expensive, but I prefer to kind of get the best because if you've got like a $10,000 setup, you don't want to be risking it with like a cheap housing going into the ocean. Yeah.
Is there any like cheaper way that people can practice underwater photography?
Yeah, there's the GoPro. The GoPro takes exceptional like clarity, and I'm so surprised with its autofocus. So like you could go from like being on top of the water and then you go down underneath. And because underneath the ocean, like it's so much darker and it takes a bit like when you're shooting manual with the camera, I have to change my settings all the time. However, with the GoPro, it just like automatically does it, and it's so like, you know, quick and clear to do it. I'm just like fascinated at the level of it. Yeah.
That's great because I feel like people, I talk to photographers all the time. That's like their dream. And I'm like, what's standing in the way of this in their dream? Like, why don't people just more go and do that? And I guess GoPro could be a good start for them.
Yeah, yeah. I think you just really need to have confidence and faith that it will work out, and just always think, if it doesn't work out, you know, what's the worst can happen? I have to go live with my parents for a few months and save money. Like, seriously.
Which is a lot of people do not want to think about. They don't even want that option.
Yeah, I know. Well, luckily for us in Australia, we have, I guess you guys call it like the welfare, like we call it the dole. The government has really good support. Even throughout COVID, it's been insane, the support. So we're very lucky here that we can have that. I know because my partner's like American, so with you guys, there's so many more of you. That's why there's a lot of Americans. So it's a bit hard to support all of you guys. But yeah, no, we have it very lucky here in Australia. So and I think it just comes with like I said, just having confidence, like trial and error. Like you really just got to put yourself out there, and you know, even reaching out to people. What's the worst they can say is, I'm sorry, no, we're not really suited, or I'm too busy. You can just be like, oh, well, that was good practice to try and approach someone else.
Yeah. Have you ever had somebody that came back later that you worked with that you like it didn't work and then they came back to you?
Yeah. I've had people who have tried to book with me, and perhaps I was traveling elsewhere at the time. And so then it would work out maybe like a year later, 18 months or 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so important to stick with something for a long time, by the way. And that's probably like where your success is that you seem like very focused and like you're not like doing too many different things where so you can actually get like people can remember you and they can come back to you, or like you're doing this kind of consistent theme in your life. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so, because like photography has always been a passion of mine. Like I was studying all through high school and then went to university, and I didn't do with it like anything with it for I think it was like 8 years almost. So I went like traveling and was doing hospitality or retail jobs. However, then I was on like an annual surf trip and was in this beautiful place in remote Indonesia, and was like, why don't I do photography? I'm not too bad at it and I really love it. And so I was like, okay, and took out a loan and purchased like my full frame setup and some lenses. So yeah, I think if you have like a passion for it, like you really love it, like enjoy it. And with me, I love meeting people. And although since COVID, I've been shooting a lot more product and product lifestyle now, but I just thrive on working with people, and you get to chat with them, and if they're regular clients, you really get to know them and become like great friends. So it's really cool.
That's awesome. And have you worked professionally on the video yet? You said you just started.
Yeah, a couple times. So just recently I shot some it was like some skin product, a tool. So I did some videos for that. And then some fitness training videos, like And I've done like a retreat before. That was a bit more basic. Oh, I did a friend's wedding also a couple of years ago. But now it's getting more like, yes, I'm getting asked to do probably more of it. Like, obviously, I'm still not like, yay, like professional, but still a
Yeah.
lot to learn.
How are you
But
learning the editing of it?
lots of YouTube or advice from other friends who are photographers and videographers. I got like, it's really cool. There's like, I don't know, community, like especially just on Instagram, if you're friends with other creatives, and you kind of can ask each other questions or help one another out. Um, Although like I just feel sometimes like don't be doing too much. Like I think I would, you know, you've got to get out there and put your, like maybe invest in a course, like there's so much available now with the online technology. So you can just like Google like videography tips, like how to edit. So there's so much that comes up.
Yeah. Is there anyone like you are a diehard fan of, or?
Well, my good friend, we actually did a live chat a couple of months ago because we both were in the Panasonic like getting the Lumix S5, so we did a live chat. Ben Mack, everyone, you've probably seen him. I think he's another Australian photographer, videographer. His work is exceptional. It's got a certain style, and he's all self-taught, so he's different to me, which is really cool. Like, because we can chat about the differences, and I totally agree that like I find that you probably learn like more if you're working with a mentor, like someone who inspires you, and you can. Like I hired a photographer when I was getting into architectural photography just to teach me like art, because I was shooting on my own first, and architectural is very technical. If you don't really know what you're doing, it's so time consuming, and then you're spending hours on end on the computer trying to like redraw it or where like I prefer to shoot perfect each time, like really trying just shoot as perfect as possible so it's less time on the computer, because we already spend too much time on the computer on screens these days. So sorry, what I was getting back to was like, so he's all self-taught, and lots of YouTube tutorials, courses, and I think maybe he would have worked alongside another photographer, like because I worked alongside another photographer too, like doing weddings a couple of times, and he taught me a lot also. So I just find that you really find with creative stuff, maybe it's just me because I'm a kinesthetic learner, so I learn as I go if I'm doing it. Yeah. And rather than like read write, so it just depends what type of a learner you are. But I tell people that it's best to go and have some mentoring or have a private workshop with someone who you really love and want to learn from.
Yeah. And it seems like you might be naturally outgoing. What are tips for somebody that's like shy? How do they ask for all this stuff?
I think like, do you know what, actually I go through primary school, high school, I was probably a bit more on the shy side.
Really?
It just developed over time from traveling. Like when you're traveling alone, or I worked in a lot of customer service like positions, roles, so naturally you just had to be talking to strangers or to people. And then I think being like a freelance artist, you probably need some good people skills just so you can maintain those relationships, because that's one of the most important things for your freelance business, is so you can call upon like your clients, but hey, I'm visiting or I'm coming back, do you want me to create some new content for you? I'm offering this at the moment. Or like, see, I contact my clients when I'm going somewhere quite exotic or a new place, or I've been working with like a nice model who I think is just really good to work with, and the photos have turned out exceptional. So then I contact my clients who we haven't worked together for like 2 months. I'm like, hey, do you need any new content? I've just been working with this girl. Here's our stuff. And yeah, most of the time they're like, oh yeah, that's cool, let's do it. So yeah.
And how'd you get good at negotiation? Like, how do you negotiate your prices and stuff? Trial and error?
Yes, I think over time, obviously, like you raise the rates. If you're getting like way too busy, like just recently I was speaking with other creatives, and one of them was like overly busy all the time. And I was like, well, I think it's time you like put your prices up. It's a sign that, you know, people want your work, then you're worth more than what you're offering. So just up your prices. When people do say like, oh, I'm sorry, that's out of my budget, then I'm like, that's okay, no problem. Please let me know what, oh, like, yeah, let me know, and you know, it could suit your budget. Or sometimes I might say to them, if I'm feeling quite generous or I like what they're doing, like their product, or if they're doing some sort of like, if they're sustainable, they're doing something good for the environment, then I'll say, oh, what is your budget? I might just ask them. And what if they come back with something reasonable, then I could like redo a package for them, offer them like a counter offer. Yeah, and then every so often, if I'm traveling somewhere, perhaps I do a sale of like 20% off, and people generally will jump onto that. And I can say to people, if you pay a $100 deposit, that can, you know, you can secure that 20% off for 6 months. So people like do that also.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah.
So they're buying in advance the deposit for the discount for the future?
Yes, yeah. But have a limit on, you know, the discounted shoot, because if you get like really busy down the track and then you've discounted and you're like, damn, I wish I didn't do that because I'm killing it right now with my normal rate. So set a limit, like, so I just do for 6 months.
Okay. And that like you do through email? Like, do you just like email a bunch of people, or
Yeah, well, I'll just put it
like an
onto my
email list?
stories on social media. So I
Oh,
might put it onto my Facebook on there, or my Instagram stories, or write it in a few posts, like do a few, because like I know when I learned from network marketing, it usually takes at least 7 times for someone to see something to be like, oh, maybe I should do that. Yeah.
7 times? Was that the
Yeah,
number?
apparently. Yeah, like, so it's, I don't know, when you do your own business, you feel a bit like, oh, this is too salesy, always like
Yeah.
putting yourself out there and offering deals. But like, if you just do it on stories, it's okay, because the stories only last 24 hours. So I feel that's good. And over time, people they do say something to you.
Well, I mean, that's great advice for people. I think like they would give up after the 3rd time or like the 4th time. And, you know, that's the name of the game. Well, like, thanks a
Yeah.
lot.
Thank you so much. It was great chatting.
You too. Bye, Fiona. Thanks.
Bye.